This is Parker Hesse.
This is Sam Branks.
You have the pleasure of listening to Hawkeyes and Tallboys. Cheers, motherfuckers.
Welcome to the Hawkeyes and Tallboys podcast, featuring your hosts, Bo Freeborn.
You know, guys, even though we get 2 conference losses, we're still going to end up 9-3. We're going to win the West for sure.
Dylan Pond.
Here's the thing, fellas. I'm going with it. 12-0, baby. We're going to do it. Let's fucking go. Woo!
And Rob Wall.
I mean, that would be shocking. But we can do it. I mean, I think we can.
So crack a tall boy and go Hawks.
Oh, welcome in to another glorious episode of Hawkeyes and Tallboys. This is episode 67 if you're keeping track. This is the unofficial, official Hawkeye football podcast. I'm your host, Rob Wall, here alongside Bo Freeborn and Dylan Pond. How are we doing today, guys?
How you doing well, Rob?
Hey, excellent, Roberto.
Cheers, fellas. It's been one heck of a week. We just came off a pretty convincing win last Saturday against the Scarlet Knights of Rutgers. And we're back with another episode to tell you about what's going on this week. Obviously, we have a huge Big Ten matchup. It's a crossover game. The Michigan Wolverines, number 4 in the nation, are coming to Iowa City. The game's going to be at Kinnick. And guys, this is probably, if not the biggest, one of the biggest games on our schedule this year. And so every time that we've played Michigan, and for those of you who have been listening to us for some time now, we've kind of had a pretty good record. And honestly, I don't know if I like all the talk that I'm hearing this week of how all the talking heads and everyone saying that, the Hawkeyes actually do have a chance against this team, because it makes me feel like, we may mess it up.
Well, I think in Jim Harbaugh's conference he had this week, what was the term he said? It's where Power 5 or top 5 teams go to die.
Top 5 teams go to die, Kinnick Stadium.
So I agree with you a lot, Rob. I think there's a lot of hype riding it. And I think the Jim is probably telling his players every single day, hey, this is going to be a crazy environment. Fans are going to be wild. Iowa's going to come out and play. Obviously, they're honoring the 0-2 Rose Bowl team, and then Brad Banks is now the honorary captain this week. So there's a lot of good things going on in Iowa City to make it seem like, hey, this could be an upset weekend. But I think they're really playing that to Iowa's disadvantage.
Oh, absolutely. I think after 2016, Jim Harbaugh came into Iowa City heavily favored. And just like he did back in 1985, when he was leading the Michigan Wolverines, he learned that Kinnick Stadium is a hell of a place to play, and learned it from the coaching side. So he knows all about it. Urban Meyer knows all about it. Plenty of James Franklin, Joe Paterno know about it. I mean, some big, names in college football know that Kinnick is a tough place to play, right? So that's why you're hearing this hype, and you're hearing what Iowa's 4-1 in their last top 5 matchups at Kinnick. So obviously that's pretty good. Now, how sustainable is that? We're going to find out Saturday. But I mean, to say Iowa doesn't have a chance, I think, is silly. And obviously they're trying to hype this game up for a reason. And truthfully, I think they should be.
Another crazy stat too is that Jim Harbaugh has never won in Iowa City. Never won. I think he's been here 3 times. Once as a coach, 2 as a player, 0 for 3. So he's also trying to break that streak.
And as a kid, he got hit by a mail truck in Iowa City. So, when his father was coaching for the Iowa Hawkeyes. So
now some people would hear that type of talk and think that it bodes well for the Hawks, but I'm one of those in the opposite camp where I'm like, well, crap. Now I feel like, that means that the Wolverines are due that, but let's take a step back, guys. On the surface, if you're not a Hawkeye follower, if you don't know much about the Iowa Hawkeyes, but you just look at this game at big noon, Fox big noon kickoff on Saturday. You're looking at a number 4 team in the nation, possibly a NCAA playoff team, and an unranked Iowa Hawkeyes who have not really looked that good from the highlights that have made the national news. And yeah, they're playing a home game, but it doesn't look like it should be close. However, if you start to take a little bit further of a dive into the backgrounds of these teams, you'll come to realize that, this is going to be a rematch of a Big Ten title game last year. But the teams are a lot different, especially on the Wolverine side of the ball. There's no more Aiden Hutchinson. There's some new look guys on the offense. And so if you'd like, I'd like to kind of dive in a little bit closer and take a look at the Michigan Wolverines.
Yeah, I love it. And you said it right. I think a lot of those players they've got that 39-point loss in the back of their mind thinking, okay, this is a revenge game. And I think that left a pretty poor taste in their mouth. I think what's a stat? I think we missed a field goal and a touchdown, which at halftime could have brought us within, 10 points or 7 points even. Mm-hmm. And then obviously Michigan ran the score up there in that bowl game as well, the Big Ten title game, which of course, I'm sure doesn't sit very well with some of the coaches and a lot of the players too.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I was sitting in the stands for that game, and obviously it didn't go Iowa's way, right? However, they were not that far off from being in that game. Big part of that was not being able to get the offense going, right? Missing that halfback pass to Monty Pottebaum in the back of the end zone really hurt. Caleb Shudak, who is normally, 100%, missing a field goal, obviously that hurt. So, you to beat this Michigan team, right, you're going to have to put your best foot forward. And that's in all 3 phases of the game. And I'll touch on that a little bit later in Dylan's keys to victory. So stay fired up for that. But, as you touched on, Rob, this is, a lot of different guys, but still some studs. Look at the quarterback spot. I think Cade McNamara was the one that did the primary quarterbacking in that Big Ten championship game. And so now we're going to see a little bit more of JJ McCarthy. I think he's more of the runner per se, not that he's a bad passer necessarily, but his strength is in the run game. And I think Iowa historically, they hear mobile quarterback, and all of us fans remember Terrell Pryor running around on 4th and God knows how long back in 2010, right? So that's burned in my memory, and I'm sure it's burned in plenty of our listeners' memories as well. So that being said, since Phil Parker's taken over, I think we've done a lot better job of containing. So I feel good there. Blake Corum, obviously just tearing it up right now. You look at some of his statistics that Bo got here for me. He's leading the nation right now with 9 touchdowns and 478 yards. And to put that in comparison, right now, Iowa's 3 running backs combined have 480 yards. So he's carrying the bulk he's carrying the bulk of the load for Michigan. And then the defense, I think that's just one of those things that you typically know with Michigan is that they're going to come bearing a stud, a defense just full of future NFL players. So this team doesn't have really any weaknesses. So like I alluded to, it's going to take Iowa's best game to win.
And a lot of people who look at stats look at this as, okay, Michigan's offense, they're extremely potent. They have good receivers. They always have good receivers. Obviously, Blake Corum's a really, really good running back, and JJ McCarthy, young but has a lot of talent. They score 50 points a game, but you got to peel it back a little bit too. Out of the 4 wins they've had, 3 of the teams statistically were the worst defenses in college football, and then Maryland, I believe, was in the 100s. So out of 131 teams, putting up 50, 55 points on teams, okay, maybe that's not as impressive. Last week they go and their offense was essentially shut down until the end of the game against Maryland. So, if Iowa fans are doing the research and looking at this right, that's probably where the glimmer of hope is coming, when you look at that.
Oh, absolutely. I was going to say, we can pull it up, but you said, let's just say they're averaging, 55, 56 points a game. I'm no math major. Oh, literally 50 points per game. Thank you. But you look at that, in those 4 wins, right? And then, they get their first Big Ten test in Maryland, and they get that at home nonetheless too. So, obviously come away with a 7-point victory there, but I think that's what we saw in that game. If you watch those highlights, I didn't watch the full game myself, but you saw that, they're human as human. If anything, they're kind of similar to Iowa in that regard, where their offense might even necessarily be considered their weakness, in particular their passing game. So it's just one of those things that we'll have to exploit. And I think we do have a chance there to exploit that potential weakness because, JJ McCarthy, again, not a bad thrower by any means, but a little bit weaker, in my opinion, than Cade McNamara might be. So, we're going to be pressing on this secondary to make some plays, and that defensive line and the linebacking trio as well to, make some plays, put some pressure on the quarterback. And, and again, we'll get into this in Dylan's keys of victory, but Iowa has nothing to lose. They really don't. Like, nobody expects them to win this game. They already pulled out a Big Ten victory. And I think, some of the other leaders in the West, you're looking at Minnesota, Wisconsin, there's losses on their schedule as well. Yes, it'd be nice to get a win here, but kind of reminds me of 2017 Ohio State. We're going in this game and you legitimately have nothing to lose. Let it fly. Let's fucking go.
On that note too, Michigan's defense, usually they are known for the defense. I know, Dill, I think you said it earlier, Rob, they don't have an Aiden Hudson, which is really good because, our offensive line obviously seems to be one of our weak points as of right now. So as long as our guys can at least create some movement on the offense, maybe even get a score, as long as we can keep the defense off the field as long as we can, I think we got a shot. But the offense has to come out, be able to execute, run the ball, and then still be able to get first downs, even if that is throwing the ball 5-7 yards down the field.
And they, to be fair, granted it wasn't consistent whatsoever, but versus Rutgers last week, on the road in a hostile environment, at least for the first half, Iowa showed they can do that. So that gave me a little glimmer of hope, finally seeing a somewhat cohesive unit on the offensive line and running the ball, and loved seeing the spark out Caleb Johnson as well. Oh my God, he's going to be a player. He reminds me of a slightly more physical Tyler Goodson, which, Hawk fans know that's a good thing. That's a very big compliment. So, that's, fired up to see him getting going. And as Bo said, I agree 100%. You got to keep the defense off the field as much as possible, right? Easier said than done. We're going against another top 5 defense. So, it's kind of like what we talked about with Richie last week, where it's going to be a battle of the punters and battle of special teams and defense. And, whoever comes out ahead is going to obviously get the W in Iowa City.
Absolutely, you guys. And one thing that I was interested in to talk about is, I watched that Michigan-Maryland game last week, and, looking at like Maryland move the ball against that Michigan Wolverine defense gave me some hope. Now, are we as good on offense as Maryland? Absolutely not. We're not. But I think, we did show some spark, as you alluded to last week, Dill. And I know that Kirk has been kind of, shuffling guys in and out on that offensive line. And there was a few, series like towards in this, end of the first, beginning of the second quarter where, we moved the ball all the way down the field and scored to where I thought, okay, whoever this combination of guys is out there, let's go ahead and just stick with them because, we're finding success. Spencer has time to throw the ball. And lo and behold, when we give him time, he's able to make the right throws when he needed to. And contrary to how much I've been dogging him all year, I had to sort of eat a little bit of my words because I was impressed with some of the throws that he was able to make. And so it's like, you see flashes of him being able to do what he needs to do. And I just am worried that, are we doing enough to get him? And, all of a sudden I start to look back at all those press conferences with Kirk, who the media is wanting to tear the roof off the building because they want to know, what we're going to do about the quarterback situation. And Kirk just was calm and, when handling the pressure and was like, hey, we're going to go with Spencer. He's our guy. We haven't given him enough to show me whether or not he can actually do it. We haven't helped him out enough. And so I'm starting to kind of, I guess, come around to that sentiment. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
Oh, absolutely. I think you can disagree with it all you want, but he's the guy. I'm not saying we won't see Padilla at some point, but they made it clear Spencer's the guy, and truth be told, when he does have time back there to throw, he does a good job. I think we've especially seen it this past couple of games where he's getting better every game, right? That's really all we can ask for. And with a defense like the defense he has, we don't need him to be an all Big Ten quarterback by any means. Just be serviceable. Don't turn the ball over. Don't do the things that we were seeing in those first couple of weeks. I think that's why, the media got so crazy. And I know I was getting crazy too, because it was just, beyond frustrating where, you see a guy that can't take 3 steps in the pocket to avoid a sack, right? So just zero mobility there whatsoever. But that being said, when he's got time to sit back there and throw around, he does a hell of a job. So that's what I've noticed. What do you think, Bo?
Yeah, what was cool about that too? Obviously, we went back to the stat where he had 8 touchdowns and 1 interception in away games as a starting quarterback at Iowa. He just looked like he was a little bit more relaxed. Didn't have a whole lot of pressure on him. Felt like he was going out and playing football and having fun again. So that was really good to see too. And what I thought was really interesting was that Spencer Petras was the highest rated Iowa football player in Pro Football Focus this week. They gave him an 88 grade for last week. So had a lot of targets right on the money, a couple of drops. What was he? 11 of 17. So not a whole lot of throws.
Yeah, Sam Laporta, if you're listening, get your shit together. My God, I am tired of watching you drop the football. Go on, Bo.
But had a lot of, just like the week before against Nevada too, had a lot of good balls right in the receiver's hands. A couple of drops, but again, looked very mature, looked very poised, and honestly just looked comfortable having fun playing football.
And let's not forget, and I know that he's going to go up against a not so great Rutgers defense, right? But we watched him escape a rush and run up the sideline for a first down yesterday. And I don't know if I can remember a time that I've seen him do that. So,
and to say this too, I mean, going into the game, Rutgers defense was actually, supposed to be one of the better defenses that Iowa would see in the Big Ten. Now, of course, that was only a 3-game set, right? But, for them to put up 27 points, obviously I know two defensive touchdowns, but still for them to put up, that, and then obviously drive the ball on offense has to give you some courage going into this next week too.
So just to kind of button it up with Spencer Petras, I mean, from the way that he started the season into where he is now going into arguably the biggest game in our regular season schedule, I don't think that he could be in if we could have imagined him in a better position. He had a game where it felt like a get right game against Nevada. Then he had a second outing in a row where he looked what we would consider to be serviceable. He showed us things that we always knew that he could do, that he just did. So he kind of came through on, I guess, a promise that you would make as a starting quarterback, that you were able to make the plays that you need to make. And that's more than, he's kind of set himself up for this game, which I would say is not the biggest game of his career. I would argue that it would have been the Big Ten title game last year, but it is a rematch and it could be a revenge game situation for him.
For sure. And I think another big thing too, we've kind of talked about it the last couple of weeks, that the O-line has been, one of the key focal points here. Last week, Dill, I think we asked you, who would be your starting 5 on offense. Rob, you alluded to this too. I think we have the tackles down with Richmond and Colby on the left side, or on the right side rather, but they're going to do more of the two-headed monster there at left guard with Nick DeYoung and then Jennings Dunker. Obviously, they're going to stick with center there with Logan Jones, and now at right guard between Bo Stevens and Tyler Ellsbury. I'll pass to you, Dill. What do we think we're going to do with the interior line? Do you think we're just going to continue to churn and burn and see who plays best, or how do you read this after hearing what Kirk had to say and what Chad Leistiko's had to say so far this week?
And so you heard it a little bit in oh my God, what's offensive line coach? George Barnett. We heard it in Barnett's press conference this week, where it's like, really, as far as the right guard spot goes, nobody has made themselves stand out physicality wise, which was kind of frustrating to hear. It's like, okay, you got a few guys that have been on campus there a few years. It's like nobody's stepping up. So, I mean, that kind of sucked to hear. But, Iowa traditional power, at the O-line spot. But, I mean, when you look at this tape, again, I know it's somewhat biased here on our part, but you look at that right tackle spot. Okay, Connor Colby's been an inconsistent mess out there, but we know from last year he's a solid guard, right? Okay, so I get it. Long term, we want him to be a tackle, so we gotta, let him take his lumps. I get that. Let's keep him there. I like where that's at. Right guard. Honestly, if you're going to ask me right now, I think it's a toss-up. You look at Bo Stevens. I think Bo Stevens has a lot of flashes where he looks pretty solid, and then some other times where guys just run right by him and it's like, whoa, what the hell? Yeah, sorry, Spence, you're getting smoked, my bad. And then, we see Tyler Ellsbury come in, and where I think, at least what I noticed in that Rutgers game, is that dude's just a mauler, right? Where, he's putting people on their backs. He's getting the pancake blocks, pass blocking, there's a little bit left there to be desired. And I think they know that as well. So, that could be where some of that stuff is coming from. Center spot, they're convinced they're going to make Logan Jones the next Tyler Linderbaum. And again, if we remember when Tyler first moved out to that center spot, I don't remember him taking as many lumps, but, then again, we were all pretty biased there as well. So, again, I get where that's coming from. Keep him where he's at. And I don't mind that rotation there at the right guard, if you guys couldn't tell. And, wait until Bo Stevens or Tyler Ellsbury really takes that bull by the horns and run with it. However, what George Barnett said about fucking Ellsbury not being able to get as many reps because he's your second team center, that is the stupidest fucking logic I have ever heard. This is football. When it comes down to it, yes, I understand, I'm a third center. You can teach somebody how to snap. I learned it as a backup quarterback when I was 14 years old, right? And ended up doing it for 4 years after that. So, yeah, don't want to hear that. That's dumb. That being said, left guard, again, you're seeing Nick DeYoung and Jennings Dunker, right? Okay, there's a common theme on our offensive line. It's young, big, and talented, right? Inexperienced, would be a negative or negative adjective, thank you, to use there. And so you have Jennings Dunker, who's just a freak. He's still drinking 17 protein shakes or whatever it is a day, just stupid. And then Nick DeYoung. I don't know what the stats season Nick DeYoung. I truthfully don't. I'm a Hawkeye fan through and through. I just don't get it. I don't see it. Maybe I'm just watching at the wrong times. Maybe I have some sort of vendetta out for the kid. I don't know. I don't get it. And truth be told, I'll admit when I'm wrong, because I did see some improvement out of him. But again, he's another one of those where, he's falling down and there's 3 guys in the backfield. It's like, how the hell does that happen? I don't get it. So I'd like to see Jennings Dunker there. And if you're going to stick with the young guys, the young trio, let them ride, baby. I love it. And then left tackle Mason Richmond. He's a stud. I think he's your next NFL draft pick from that offensive line. So
He's a
keep
good
rolling
anchor.
with him. That's my thoughts.
Perfect. All right, guys, let's get into I'd like to do this segment, and because I think we have time for it, before we get into your keys to victory deal and then predictions and hot takes. And I want these are going to be quick hitters. These are going to be hot topics that have hit the Hawkeye world over the last couple weeks. I'm just going to say, I'm going to announce it. You tell me yes or no, and any thoughts you have on it. 1, Cooper DeJean, Wildcat quarterback.
Love it. I want to see it. The guy is a freak athlete, and he was in high school too. I don't care what we got to do to get him involved. We got to get that guy's hands on the ball. Bill?
Yeah, I saw something on Twitter, a comparison that Scott Docterman, I want to say, was the one that made it, called him the body of Tyler Sash with Micah Hyde's ball skills. So for those of you Hawkeyes that have been around a long time, this is a special talent. I understand Kirk's conservativeness in not wanting to play him all over hell. But that being said, I mean, you got a freak. I mean, if he wants to, if he's open to it, hell yeah, like let's get it. Now, I don't think you're going to see that this year, if I'm being honest, or maybe you'll see it in like some sort of trick formation or something, but
okay,
the future, keep your eye out.
Just know too, he still holds the 7th most passing yards in Iowa high school state quarterback history. So throw that out there too.
Luke Lachey, more talented than Sam Laporta?
More. Oh, this might be a hot take, but his ceiling's higher. If you ask me, his ceiling's higher. I think Laporta's floor is higher. Luke Lachey's ceiling is a lot higher. So two different type of tight ends where, I think Lachey's more of your inline blocking tight end that can catch, whereas Laporta's, he's probably more apt to be split out, because he was a high school wide receiver. So there's my quick take there.
Yeah, I think he's a freak athlete, Rob. And honestly, I think he would be, to me, a better comparison to TJ Hawkinson than I would compare Sam Laporta to anybody that Iowa's had come through the program.
Oh, okay. I like that comparison. That's a good one.
Lucas Van Ness playing on Sundays.
Yes.
Without a question. Yeah, there's just no way. The dude is Hercules, standing at 6'12", however tall he is, and 275 pounds with a six-pack. That's disgusting.
Hopefully he stays all 4 years too.
Yeah. He's got 40 pounds on me, and I can tell you I don't have a six-pack. So
Okay, just a few more. We got Tory Taylor. Does he win the Mackey Award this year?
No, because he's not a tight end.
Oh, sorry. Oops. What's the other one?
the Ray Guy.
Oh, the Ray
And
Guy.
yes.
Okay,
Tory Taylor wins the
sorry.
Ray Guy Award and goes off to the NFL.
I don't think he will. I think there's too much SEC bias that he won't even get top 3, unfortunately.
Horse shit.
Okay. Do we see YA Black in the lineup this week?
Ooh,
No, I don't think so. Personally, I think he's still dealing with foot injury. I think he's probably going to be out until we get midway through the Big Ten schedule.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think he's coming back just yet. I guess I haven't heard that for sure, though. Now that I'm trying to think back to the presser.
Yeah, that was
And-
complete speculation because I thought he broke his foot. He
Yeah.
should be out 3 to 5
Which-
weeks is what they said. So.
Right. So, I
Okay.
mean, this will be about the time to come back. So, if you do see him, it's going to be a very limited role.
Okay.
We got plenty
Finally,
of depth
last
on the
one.
line.
Do we see Alex Padilla this week?
No,
Perfect.
No,
Let's keep. I like
barring tragedy. Barring tragedy.
All right, then let's hear the keys to victory.
All right, let's go, fellas and lady fellas. We don't discriminate here at Hawkeyes and Tallboys. So offensively, we got to get it going, man. We saw it a little bit versus Rutgers, and I liked what I was seeing. I loved me some Caleb Johnson. I loved what the offensive line was doing, establishing the run game. And that's where it all starts. It's going to start up front. We got to protect Petrus. We do. You got to give him time to throw the ball because Jim Harbaugh and the Michigan Wolverines know that if you make Petrus beat you, you're going to have a rough time, right? So, okay, you got to establish the run game first and foremost. And then from there, you got to give Petrus time to throw the ball. And essentially, offensive key to victory, it could be as simple as just saying, hey, just give the defense a break, right? They'll come in, they might get a pick six, they might do something awesome. Just give them a break, get a couple first downs. Defensively, I've been saying it, 3 weeks now? Keep doing what you're doing. You're phenomenal. Big thing this week is going to be limiting the big plays. I think if you remember the Big Ten championship versus Michigan, the big plays are the crucial killers. So if we can limit those big plays and just play stout Hawkeye football and drag this thing out into the fourth quarter, the closer you keep it into that fourth quarter, that's when that Kinnick magic really starts to come out and come to play. So that'd be my take there. And then special teams, Tory Taylor and Drew Stevens, bless you. Keep doing your thing. Love seeing Arlen Bruce as well. Special teams, for us to win this game, hot take, we're going to have to get a touchdown somewhere on special teams, whether that's a block punt, a fake field goal, a punt return, kick return, somewhere. We're going to have to get a touchdown on special teams to win this week. So keys to victory: offense, get it going, protect your quarterback. Defensively, do not get tired. Do not get tired and limit the big plays. Special teams, we need a touchdown from you. And that's how we're going to beat the Michigan Wolverines. Let's go.
Love it. Okay, guys, let's look at this. So here's the numbers for you degenerates. Quickly, over-unders at 42. The Michigan Wolverines are -11 on the spread currently. Moneyline Hawks is +345 money, -455 for the Wolverines. Let's look at predictions. What do you think, Bo?
Yeah, I'll start it off. Unfortunately, on a negative note, I think Michigan's got a lot of tools that they're going to pull out of the bag, and unfortunately, I love the Hawks. I do. I'm a realist here. I think that Michigan comes in, and I think it's going to be close. 23-17 is my pick. But the Hawks, I tell you what, they're going to lead it going into the fourth quarter, though. Dill?
Am I going next? All right. Yeah, I'm going to have to kind of echo Bo's sentiment here. I think, it's all about what team shows up, right? We've seen both Hawkeye teams this year. So I know that's frustrating to hear, but, I could see this game being an Iowa win by 3 points, and I could see this being Iowa loses by 4 touchdowns. And, more than likely, right? The truth is somewhere between the middle of the two extremes. So, I see this game as like a Michigan 27, Iowa 17 kind of game where, I think Iowa covers where the spread's at now at that -11, but I can tell you for a fact, I'm not touching it. I'm not touching that spread. That's a no win for me.
Rob, what do you think?
All right. My prediction, 2017 Hawks. I think they win on a field
Let's
goal
go,
from
Rob.
our
Let's
boy,
go.
Derek Stevens, who should have been kicking all along. He probably would have made that one at home against Iowa State. Quick thoughts on my hot take, you guys. Dylan, you kind of took it from me. I do think that we need to get a touchdown, maybe from special teams. But if we look back at the Big Ten championship game, guys, last year, Michigan ran a couple of trick plays to the tune of 159 yards and 2 touchdowns. I think this would be the perfect time for us to open up the playbook a little bit and run a couple trick plays, whether that's a fake field goal, a flea flicker, halfback pass, anything like that. If we can do something like that and get a touchdown off of it, not only is that going to boost our offense, that's going to change the momentum of the game. And I think that this would be a perfect time to use it. So that's what I'm looking forward to. So my hot take would be at least one, hopefully, trick play touchdown.
Hell yeah. We got two old school coaches. I want to see a little old school Nebraska Bumble-Rooski. Let's go.
Bumble-Rooski. Thanks so much for listening. It's been an amazing episode. It's number 67, and we're going to close it out like we will this Saturday with a little Hawkeye victory polka.